an OBGYN. He's been in Congress on and off since the 70s. Again, please welcome Congressman Ron Paul.
Sounds to me like the message of liberty has already arrived. Well, it's great. It's great to see this enthusiastic crowd. It's great to see so many supporters who believe in the Constitution and limited government. I have been positively pleased with the way the campaign has been going. I have to admit that 6 months ago I was very reluctant. Not realizing how many of you would be out there and supporting the campaign. I've come to the conclusion that there have been a lot of you and a lot of new people joining, and I'm delighted to have that happen. One thing that's very interesting is that a lot of young people have joined this campaign. I understand young people know something about the internet. Anybody hear about the internet and the organization on the internet? It's been great. We have a hard time keeping up. I'd like to take, claim the success of that, but it really has happened spontaneously. There are more than 700 meetup groups today. And this is all spontaneous. The fundraising is going well. It keeps picking up. So everybody, I'm always asked, why are we not getting more votes in the polling, national polling? Well, it just may be that we need a little bit more work, and we have to translate all those supporters and all the enthusiasm into votes. But the most important thing is the message. It's not about me as much as the message. I've been talking about the message for a long time, for 30 years, off and on. The message is very simply that of freedom and liberty, the Constitution, and what America's all about. It's a message that people respond to, and something that the Republican Party used to stand for, and unfortunately I think we've lost our way as a party. We have become a party of big government. We're a party of entitlements and more departments, and one where we have lost our way even on foreign policy. In the past, in foreign policy, we used to pick up the pieces with that the Democrats gave to us, and yet today we do not have the humble foreign policy that we were promised. So quite frankly, I think the traditional Republican, traditional American, the constitutional foreign policy and the foreign policy of the founders, that of minding our own business, is a great policy, and we ought to change it. This campaign espouses the principles of individual liberty, but liberty is not two pieces. It's not personal liberty and economic liberty. Liberty is one thing. Your right to your life and your right to the fruits of your labor, it's all one, and we need to put it back together again. Today, the country is divisive, and yet freedom and the Constitution brings diverse groups together because we want to leave people alone. Let them have their own lives. Don't tell people what to do. As long as they don't hurt people, they ought to have a right to their own lives. But my personal opinion is all this concern we have for liberty cannot supersede the concern for life, and that is all life. You cannot be careless, throw small babies away that weigh 2 and 3 and 4 pounds and say that they're not a person and they don't have legal rights. If you get careless with the definition of life, you can get careless with the definition of liberty. So I say protect all human life. Reassess our values on the monetary system, because there is no authority in the Constitution for a central bank. There is no moral authority to allow a secretive central bank create money out of thin air, because it leads to nothing but trouble. The system of money that allows the Federal Reserve to create money for the benefit of the Congress that spends too much is something that is very, very destructive, and that's why governments get so big. But when you do that, you devalue the currency, you devalue the value of the money goes down, prices go up, and people get hurt, and the people that get hurt first are the middle class and the poor, and they suffer from this. At the same time, much wealth is transferred to the wealthy class. The idea of money has to be addressed because it represents the growth of big government. It represents monetary interference and these bubbles that burst. And this past week, it required, around the world, to contain the markets, over $300 billion injected into the system to maintain this bubble, which is not maintainable. And this can't last. Therefore, what do we do about this terrible problem? Return to the Constitution. I am convinced that even in the midst of a financial crisis, a lot of people's standard of living will go down and a lot of wealth will be lost. But there's one thing that has to be preserved and we won't have to worry about tomorrow, and that is our freedom to go to work and have a sound currency and get the government off our backs and out of our pockets, and we'll be okay. Very quickly, because I understand I have a limited amount of time, I want to just say something about national sovereignty. To start off with, I'm the individual that has introduced in every Congress the bill that says we should get out of the United Nations. Therefore, it follows that we shouldn't be in the WTO, the IMF, the World Bank, CAFTA, or NAFTA, and we certainly should reject the idea of a North American Union, and if I were to be your president, I will not allow that to happen. And on the issue of national sovereignty, we do have a national federal obligation to protect our borders, which we're not doing very well. What are we doing sending our border guards to Baghdad and over into Iraq off our borders? At the same time we neglect our own borders? I say bring them home and beef up our borders right here at home. We have a budgetary problem. We have a budgetary problem because we have a generation of people that have been taught to be dependent on government, and we need not, and we don't have to put them out in the street. They're dependent on financial security. They're dependent on medical benefits. The only way that problem can be solved is to change our foreign policy. We have to literally save hundreds of billions of dollars overseas expenditures. Why do we as American people accept the idea that you're going to be taxed to bomb bridges and highways in Iraq, and then you're told to turn around and pay for rebuilding them? At the same time, our bridges are falling down in this country. It's time we had a reassessment of that mess. Limited government, balanced budgets, a strong foreign policy, protect our borders. Why can't we grow with that? We do need to get serious. We'll be forced to get serious about cutting back and bringing back sensible government. It is not difficult, believe me. It will be a pleasure to participate in that. I have joined your revolution, and I am proud to be part of what you want to do. Thank you very much.